think the term would be servant leadership. He is not interested in the limelight for himself or, being the loudest voice, but he supports the work of others. And in particular, over the years, has supported the voices of people who have lived experiences with the problems that we're working to solve.
Glenn's a great boss. He's easy to work with. He's always got a good sense of humor, sense of perspective.
And all the directors that were there before Glenn, some of them lasted more than 5 years, but most of them didn't. And there were several of them. And I think anything that could be said about the success that he has represented for the issues we've worked on and the leadership that he's provided quietly, and the fact that he's always had an informed, intelligent, and supportive answer to any questions asked of him, or just wonders that go on.
It was a long time ago. I first met Glenn in 1992. At that time, I had the opportunity to serve on the board of Crossroads Urban Center, and we had a situation where the director abruptly resigned, and so we did a scramble to find a new director. So Crossroads is a very unique organization. I was looking at all those different functions and wondering, who in the hell are we going to get to fill that position? And we got a really good turnout of applicants, but we weren't seeing anybody that we thought could fill the position. And then lo and behold, in came Glenn's application, and we were really fortunate to be able to hire him. I value Glenn's voice in this arena because he focuses it on the extremely low income, and he really makes us think, keeping that on the radar, making sure that we're remembering to house those who are going to need some help.
So I met Glenn at the 1986 Utah Anti-Hunger Conference. I was working for Utahns Against Hunger, and he was working for Crossroads, and we had parallel jobs, and we started working together right away on food stamp issues primarily. Well, he's always been an incredibly steady presence. He has a very deep commitment to social and economic justice that informs everything that he does, and this has been true for the 36 or more years that I've known him. Glenn has worked over these many years to make sure that people have access to affordable housing, and his work has consisted of everything from supporting neighborhood efforts to prevent low-income affordable housing from being destroyed, to working on policy solutions at the local and state level to increase the amount of affordable housing that's subsidized. He provided the foundation for us to create, called Justice, Economic Dignity, and Independence for Women, JEDI Women, which is a grassroots organization made up primarily of low-income women. Out of that work, and really talking to people who were living with housing insecurity, we learned about a particular policy problem called rental application fees. And we were able, and this was out of Crossroads Urban Center, which was, gave birth to this organization, JEDI Women. We were able to eliminate those fees for a period of time. Unfortunately, the legislature rescinded it, but we worked very successfully with local governments to get rid of those fees, which were creating a real barrier. He believes in the dignity of all people, and this is like a core set of beliefs that Glenn has always held. And, I think it goes back to the values that he developed as a very young person. He was a missionary for the United Methodist Church and worked in a low-income community in Oklahoma, and then he came to Utah, and he carried these values of about the dignity and worth of every human being. And, I think everything that he does is informed from that very core set of values that he holds, and it informs his view of public policy.
How much time have you got? I mean, he has made a fool of himself so many times. Which story do you want to hear first?
Well, we should have recorded that.
It was recorded.
Oh,
Everything's on. I first met Glenn when he came to work for Crossroads. He had been working, I believe, in Oklahoma. He'd spent a year or 2 years there as a VISTA volunteer, I think. And then he was employed by Crossroads. And I was working at Crossroads, and I was on kind of a temporary hire thing. And he was just, full blown into doing his community organizing, and had the strangest large used car I've ever seen, a 9-seat station wagon that could have held the whole county of Weaver or Salt Lake or any other county in the state in this one car. And he was just like he is today. He inherited several different programs. There was the Salt Lake Citizens Congress that was there, and it worked on housing with other things. It was the start of our work at Crossroads on disability issues, which eventually became the Disability Rights Action Committee. That was something that was sought out and worked with the disabled community, and it became a separate organization. The Citizens Congress lasted a little bit longer than the funding that it had, and it worked on utility issues and housing issues and disability issues. One of the secrets about Crossroads is that you're an organization, and you may say you work on one thing, but you have to work on several because they all come to you if you're working with a certain population. And we've done women's groups there. We've had the Jedi Women, which started under Glenn and his former wife, Dita Seed. We had the original Salt Lake, the Utahns Against Hunger was there. We have had 2 or 3 or 4 different aspects of community organizing and working with women and different groups of women over time. I think if you made up a list, and I did just the other day, I think I sent a list to you, and it had, 25 groups that Crossroads has been involved in. I think he's a real human being. And I think he learned that from his family's upbringing. And everything I hear about himself and his family, his brother and sister. I think he has a brother, and I don't know if he had 1 or 2 sisters. See, he doesn't talk very much about his personal life. It's a very big secret. We're not really sure where he lives. He says he lives here in the city, but we're not sure that he actually lives there. It just may be that he wants people to think he lives there. So he is very, very polite. and he's nice, and he gives you an intelligent answer when you ask him questions, but we never ask him a personal question. Never, ever.
You know, I can't remember a specific time, but it would have probably been somewhere in the late 80s, early 90s. What he does best, I think, is he empowers people. For people like me, it might be enabling, but for most, it's empowering. And that's the strategy behind spinning off these organizations like the latest, the Powerful Moms. Always wants to know what others think and values that diversity of viewpoints and opinions. So what he's done specifically on housing is really similar in that, you know, he's made it possible for many of us to work on the issue that otherwise might not have been able to do so, at least not in this kind of capacity where you're really working on the big picture advocacy side as opposed to, you know, the hands-on trying to develop or administer housing programs and projects. So that's been, I think, his biggest long-term contribution. He specifically has been the chair of the board of the organization that I started along with Tim Funk and Carrie Bate, which was the Utah Housing Technical Assistance Program. Glenn was the board chair, and so he made it possible for that organization to do what it was able to do, along with Carrie and Tim, and the staff who we did hire along the way. He's been on the Salt Lake County Housing Trust Fund board for many, many years. He is too many other boards and committees to count in the homeless arena, and currently he's been real engaged with the coalition for sheltering the homeless in Salt Lake County, and he's been really terrific in all of those capacities, and he's a great listener. So, and a great solicitor of information and opinion, and I think that's a real skill that many of us would aspire to have.
Early 2014, he called me and he asked if I would like to be on the Crossroads Urban Center board, representing the community served. And I jumped at the chance. He's great to work with. He shows respect to everyone. I've never heard him badmouth people. I mean, we can be upset, but he shows it in a civil manner. And I really respect that of him. He knows how to be. He's very diplomatic in his work and in his attitude and mannerisms towards people. And I am thrilled to be on his board.
So I know you're going to hate getting an award, Glenn, because you're so humble, but it's so well deserved. And here's to 30 more years. Maybe not.
Glenn deserves this award. He's been doing the good work for over 30 years, directly here in Salt Lake, and he was here a few years before that.
Congratulations, Glenn, on 30 years.
Glenn, as a member of the board of Crossroads Urban Center, I am thrilled to have the honor of being part of this video to congratulate you on winning this Lifetime Achievement Award, and here's to many more years. Thanks.
Congratulations. It's a fine award, and I couldn't be a finer person to have earned it. And thank you for all the good years of letting me partner with you and your team at Crossroads Urban Center, and hope it continues, and hope we continue to have good success in our endeavor. So congratulations, Glenn Bailey.